Hi everyone, Chris Natzke here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week live on Facebook. Well, Thanksgiving 2020 is right around the corner, and I think it's pretty much an understatement for me to say that 2020 so far has been probably one of the more challenging times that we've experienced, at least in my lifetime. And as a result of that, I know that several of us are going to be celebrating Thanksgiving, myself included, in some very different and unusual ways. Rather than having a table full of family and friends like I'm used to, I'm just going to be together with my son Jason, and then we're going to be, zooming in to, connect with family and friends. But as I was thinking about this, I realized that even though I'm a person that I think is pretty good at being grateful for the things in my life, there are definitely things that I've taken for granted. And one of those is getting together with family and friends during the holidays. And so it got me thinking, where else in my life am I taking things for granted? Things that I'm missing now as a result of us, going through COVID and socially distancing. And I had a whole list that I started coming up with. I took for granted the movie theater that I always like to go to that literally has complimentary popcorn and soft drinks as part of its admission price. And I haven't been there, probably since February. Man, I don't know if I go there for the movie or for the popcorn, but how I was taking that for granted. Taking for granted going to my favorite Whole Foods and eating lunch and bumping into friends. Taking for granted that I could go to a yoga class or church and see a bunch of friends and happy people. Going to a Denver Broncos game with 76,000 of my closest friends. And then also, missing my mom's and my aunt's annual visit from Wisconsin here to the Denver area. So all those things that I had been taking for granted before. And so this week's caused me to reflect on this is, where am I taking for granted several things in my life, and where should I be looking at them as granted? Let me say that again. Where could I do a better job? Rather than taking things for granted, I could take them as granted, as gifts, and be even more appreciative of those. So this Thanksgiving season, I've come up with a list of 3 concepts, ideas, and strategies that I'm going to be focusing on that I thought you could find useful as well. And the first one is slow down. If COVID-19 has taught us anything during this time is, as we've been kind of held up in our homes and we're not out and about as we are before, is we've really had some time and opportunities to slow down. And one of the great things about slowing down is we can start to change our perspective of things, even the challenges that we're going through. And yes, we're all going through them now. When we slow down and we look at them objectively, we can even see blessings inside of those. And of course, we can be more reflective and more thankful for the things that we already have in our life. So number 1 is slow down. Number two is connect and be present when you're saying thank you. I don't know about you, but when I am out and about, and most of the time right now it's going to the grocery store and maybe some other errands, is usually I'm, in the store getting my stuff, getting to the checkout line, thinking about where my next stop is and blasting out and heading on to my next destination. But I started playing a game over the last month. I realized that, when I was checking out in line at stores, the checkers who were, they're doing their best and they're being polite, they're scanning, but whatever, but there really wasn't much connection there. They weren't even making eye contact with me. And at first I felt a little bad, but I thought, I'm not really doing anything to enhance this little relationship either. And I also always noticed that they always had name tags on. So I started playing this game. When I'd get in line, I'm like, "Hi, Jennifer, how are you?" And all of a sudden her eyes would light up and we'd start this little conversation. And after everything got scanned and bagged, I'd say, "Hey, Jennifer, thanks so much. Have a great day." Well, I did that just as kind of a way of maybe making someone else feel good and also experiment with this. But man, what I found is I felt awesome. I was really present in showing gratitude. And I continue to do that now. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But being present when we're saying thank you, and not just to have it be a social norm that we say, but really genuinely be present when we say it. And then finally is understand that gratitude is not a feeling, it's a practice. It's not just a feeling, it's a practice. And so what do I mean by that? One of the neatest things that I've learned over the last maybe 5-6 years, I started a practice a friend of mine shared with me, is doing a daily gratitude journal. And what I do is I end every evening right before I go to bed, and I write down a minimum of 5 things that I'm grateful for. And it's such a great way for me to kind of wrap up the day. And before I go to sleep, those are my last thoughts of gratitude. And there's this great book by a man named Robert Emmons called Thanks. And he's found some great things that happen when we do this. Is that number one is that people who are doing the 5 items of gratitude before they go to bed, they sleep better, and they wake up more rested. They are also, on average, 25% happier than people that are not doing that practice. Anybody up for 25% more happiness? The other thing is that it flourishes relationships, so that when you're in that state of gratitude, the way that you're interacting with people is a higher energy. And so you're not only attracting people of that like, but you're also helping raise other people's energy as well as yourself. And then finally, it's what he found is that there was an emotional incompatibility with negative thoughts versus grateful thoughts or positive thoughts. So it was virtually impossible to be in a bad mood, so to speak, if you were practicing gratitude. So there you have it, my friends. There are 3 little tips that I want to share with you during this Thanksgiving season. Obviously an unusual time for all of us, but I'd encourage all of us to look at those 3 practices, about slowing down, being mindful when you're saying thank you, and then also realizing that gratitude is a practice. And so hopefully what that does for all of us is it'll help us move from taking many things in our life for granted and moving to them and looking at them as granted, as the gifts that they are, so we can continue to go out in the world and flourish. So, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. This has been Chris Natzke with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching, and we'll see you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.